Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and today we're going to do something that I haven't done in a while, and it is a case roundup for the iPad mini. Now, if you shop on Amazon and you shop for your accessories, you notice that there are a lot of brands that sell accessories for your devices, like your tablets, your smartphones, and they're inexpensive, like cases and accessories, and you always wonder if they're any good because they're cheap. They're significantly cheaper than what you'd find in your local electronics store, like a Best Buy. I always used to wonder if they're any good, and I found that I actually really like the cases, even though they're a fraction of the price of what you get in some of the big box stores. Now, that's not to be said that the cases that are more expensive aren't any good. I mean, definitely the cases that I use as my daily drivers typically are a little bit higher end cases, simply because they last a little bit longer. The materials that they're made out of sometimes are a little bit better. But when it comes to just getting a decent case for your device, there are a lot of good options on Amazon. So I went on Amazon and purchased the top rated cases for the iPad mini. Now, I have my iPad mini right here. I put it in a keyboard case because I wanted to, of course, use it a little bit and explore it with the new iPad OS that's currently in beta. So as soon as it is fully launched, I will, of course, come and make a video about that. The iPad mini, I think, is one of the best iPads to buy right now. And so especially if you just want something that's a little bit smaller, you question whether or not you should get a larger iPad. I have a video coming out soon on the best iPads to buy right now, and I also talk about when the best time of year is to buy which version of the iPad, depending on what it is that you're looking for. So I have a keyboard case on the iPad right now. I'll talk real briefly about it. This keyboard case is from a company called New Made in China. That's all that shows up on the box. I'll make sure to link to all these so that you can check them out. A lot of these cases are made and they're just random brands. A couple of them have reached out to me in the past, and it's like a brand for a case, but they have like so many different brands underneath their umbrella that it's really hard to know where they come from. But this case is a Bluetooth keyboard case that has cutouts for everything, including the logo on the back. It's kind of a heavy case. I guess it's not terrible. And it is balanced pretty decent. The keys are a little odd. They're kind of small, and it takes a little getting used to some of them. But it is really easy to type on, and it's a super easy case to use for your iPad. So I thought I'd mention it, and I'll definitely talk about this case more in another video. But if you are looking for an inexpensive keyboard case, I'll link to this one down below so that you can check it out. And make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube for State of Tech, so that you can get updates on, some of these videos. All right, so I've got my iPad mini right here, and I've got these cases. I didn't even open them yet because I wanted this to be kind of like a inexpensive case haul type of video, and I wanted to experience these for the first time with all of you. So the first one that I'm opening up is a PROCASE smart case. The rest of the words are truncated. 2019 release black, new, made in China. And so it just comes in basically a little plastic bag. It's a flip style cover case with a little bit of an information card inside of it. They're basically just asking for a review and saying thank you. It says Johto PROCASE and like KOSS or KOSS, KOSSE on it. I'll make sure to link to this one in the description. It has kind of like a faux leather kind of front, a soft cover like you'd expect from Apple. Apple has this type of cover, but it also has a back cover on it as well that has kind of a dark smoked look to it. You can't completely see through it, but you can definitely see light through it. So it's not a solid color like a solid black. It's like a smoked kind of finish. So I'm going to go ahead and snap the iPad in here, and we'll go ahead and just kind of get an idea of the feel. Now the top, the front cover on the top kind of like slips over. I don't like that because when I'm like carrying the iPad, it's kind of like slipping a little bit. So I'm not like a big fan of that. It is what it is. I mean, you're paying next to nothing for these cases. What I do like is that it does fold over and you can kind of hold it like a book. I love that about the cases. I wish that this was like reversible so that you could also put it over on this side, because sometimes I'll go from like holding an iPad in my left hand to holding it in my right hand, and then there's nothing to grip really when you're holding it in your right hand. But I often am holding my iPad like this. Ever since the first iPad came out with this stand, that's a way that I hold the iPad. You can also set it down, of course, and use it as a stand, which is nice. You know, being that it is a little flimsier, I wonder like how well it'll hold and kind of hold itself up so it doesn't accidentally tip over, being that this is a little floppier than what I would expect on anything else. You know, it has all the cutouts and everything. Kind of the buttons feel good through the cutouts. There's a big cutout down at the bottom for the port and the speakers. And so overall, I mean, this case is, for the price, you can't really beat it. It's definitely inexpensive, and if you or whoever you're getting an iPad mini for is a little bit rough on cases, like, you know, this would be a good option because it's just inexpensive to replace, and it provides full coverage all the way around the iPad. All right, so that one is done. Let's move on to the next one. This one is a little bit bigger of a case. This is an iPad mini 5 case. The rest of it's truncated, so there isn't a brand name, but like I said, I'll link to all of these down in the description below so that you can check them out. This case is, it has like a kickstand on it, so you can stand it up. It's a multi-layer case, and so you kind of have to open the case up. It also has a port protector on it, which is interesting because there isn't like any protection. It's not a waterproof case or anything like that. There's also protections in the other areas. All right, so let's slip the iPad in there like so. Put the cover back on the top portion. Snap that together. There we go, snap, snap. And then put it back in the rubber outer. So I've had cases like this before, and the one thing that I don't like about them is because there's so many parts, there's lots of opportunity for debris and junk and stuff like that to get in there. So it has a pretty big cutout for the camera, which is like tucked kind of up in the corner. It's kind of like they were just making it as large of a hole as possible, just to be on the safe side. There's a big cutout here, port protector for the headphone jack. There's a big opening for the Apple logo. And then, like I said before, there's a port cover for your charging port down below, and then openings for the microphones and for the speakers. So this would be your more protective case that would protect it from dropping. You know, if you're going to let your kids use this, or you're going to be taking your iPad on the road with you in and out of a vehicle or something like that, this would be a good case because it has so much protection in the corners, and also there's so much of a raised protection from the screen here. So the screen, if it does land face down, it would have to land on something pretty good sized in order to actually scratch or hurt the screen. So I do like this case in that instance, that it is quite large and is going to provide a lot of protection. If I was giving this iPad to one of my kids, it definitely would be a case that I would put on it to give more protection to the iPad so that my kids don't ruin it. We had an iPad mini before, it got ruined, so if I was to give this one to one of my kids, this would be the case that I would give them. Or of course, if you're wanting a case that just has more grip to it, like this one has that. It has a lot of grip. It feels good to actually hold because of the actual rubber. It gives a nice kind of smooth feel to it. All right, so we got the iPad out of that case, and we are ready to move on to the next one, which is made by TINEEOWL, TINEEOWL. This case has the best kind of branding, I guess you could say, so far. It is a iPad mini 5, mini 4 case, and so we'll go ahead and open up this one and see what it is all about. And I tried to go with cases that had a little bit of differences to them. There are a lot of cases that are almost the exact same that you can get, so has a little bit of a design branding to it there. has a peel-off front cover. I'll wait on that one. And then this in the back just to protect it from getting smashed. So this case in particular is clear, see-through on the back. Let's go ahead and slide the iPad into it. Fits in real nice. And then it is clear on the back, so we'll go ahead and... Not as pleasant of a sound as peeling the screen cover off of a brand new iPad, but also not bad. So what I liked about this case when I saw the photos is that it is a relatively slim case. It seems to fit the iPad really good and give it a layer of protection that you know, just protects the finish of the iPad. Now there's a little bit of a raised edge on the front here, which will keep it from, if you lay it face down on a table, from getting scratched up. But if you drop the iPad and it landed on its face, chances are anything that it hits on the ground is going to affect the front of the iPad. It does have kind of some reinforced corners here, so the corners are a little bit thicker, so if it does drop and lands on its corners, it has a little bit more protection than it does on the sides. I like this iPad case because it is very slim, very minimal. There isn't a whole lot going on here, and it does protect the iPad pretty well. I don't like a scratched up back of the iPad. I like to protect that, and so a case like this definitely handles that. And it has you know, decent cutouts. The buttons feel really good and all that good stuff. The only thing that this case doesn't have is any protection for the front. So if I was going to use this case, I probably would put a screen protector on my iPad. Even though I'm not like a huge fan of screen protectors, it's probably something that I would do just to protect the front of the iPad, because that's important too. I don't like having scratches or anything like that in the screen of the iPad. I don't think you do either. So I'll go ahead and remove this case, which so far I think is probably my favorite, even though cases that are clear like this tend to get kind of like become fingerprint magnets. I can already see my fingerprints on the back of it, and also any dust or debris gets in there and you can easily see all of that mess. And so let's move on to a case by MOKO. Oh, I'm used to or familiar with the brand MOKO. I've had some cases from them in the past. I think if I remember right, they've actually sent me a case or two in the past. These cases, like I said, weren't sent to me. I purchased them off of Amazon. This case is almost exactly the same as the first case that we looked at. However, I did just notice something, and that is that this is magnetic. So this kind of comes together and holds itself there. There's a magnet in there, which is nice. The other case doesn't have that. This also is less flimsy. You know, I was complaining about the flimsiness here of this, and it definitely is less flimsy. So I like that feel that this has going on there. I feel a little bit more secure with the stand, and using this to kind of hold it as a grip feels a little bit better in the hand, and it also doesn't kind of slosh back and forth like the other one. So the MOKO, even though this case looks exactly like the other one, the MOKO case seems to be of higher quality, and I definitely would keep this case. This one now, I think, is actually my favorite because it has the front cover, which definitely like turns on the iPad and turns it off, which is good. It rolls up nice and has a magnet to hold itself together, so I don't have to worry about this like flopping apart and coming undone. It feels good when it's fully opened and folded along the back side of the iPad. I do like that. So this case so far, I think actually is my favorite as far as form and function and protection. The case prior, I still really like because of its minimalist feel, but it doesn't have something covering the front, which of course is a little bit of a bummer. All right, so we've got one last case. I did say this was the top 5 cases. I did mention the keyboard case at the beginning. The keyboard case is what would make this 6 cases, but I mentioned the keyboard case simply because I already have it. So this case is from VECO, V-E-C-O, I think is the name, and this one has a little bit more of like a premium feel and finish to it. It has kind of like I guess maybe like a suede look. It doesn't have a suede feel, but it has a look to it. And it opens up, it doesn't fold, it doesn't roll up, but it does have kind of like the stand that sits on its base like that. So let's go ahead and throw the iPad in this case and kind of see how it feels and all that good stuff. All right, so fold it up. This feels pretty nice. It has like this little kind of fake leather with the logo there. It also has a pen holder or a stylus holder, and I actually went ahead, I had gotten rid of my Apple Pencil 1, my first gen Apple Pencil, so I thought, you know what, that would be a great opportunity to try an aftermarket pencil or stylus for the iPad. So make sure that you check out a new video that I'm going to be putting out, because this stylus right here is a fraction of the price of an Apple Pencil, and so far I have noticed no differences in using it. I'll actually test it on my iPad Pro, comparing this between the Apple Pencil 2, and then I'll try and get my hands on another Apple Pencil 1 so I can compare it as well. But this one has a little kind of loop here for your pencil, so I like that. This gives your iPad mini kind of like a premium journal feel. You know, this case fits it really well. The little pencil holder over here is kind of a nice addition. It opens up nice and flat when you open it up completely. It is a little flimsy, you know, a little, I complained about that at the beginning, but it's not that bad. You know, I like the way that it feels. I like the way that it's not super thick, but it gives you enough to hold on to. And then, of course, if you were going to set it up in kind of stand mode, you can set it up, and it has two different angles for you there for setting the iPad up into a standing position. So I do really like this case. Obviously, like if you're gonna take a picture, use the camera on the back of your iPad, it's going to be a little tricky. You're going to have to kind of like hold the iPad open like this, because if you do fold this all the way over, it covers up your camera. I tend to never use the iPad camera. There's some instances where I've used it to like scan a document, or maybe I'm using a note-taking app and I need to take a picture of something, but I just would rather use my iPhone and airdrop the photo to my iPad than have to deal with trying to use the iPad camera. It's not fun. All of these cases cost me like less than $70. And most cases, if you go to like Best Buy or your big box store, are probably going to cost like 40 or 50 bucks just for a case, maybe even more depending on the features of the case. You throw in an Apple Pencil, even though this one is not an Apple Pencil, you know, you're getting close to $200 for accessories and stuff like that. And you know, you can get a lot of cool stuff off Amazon. I want the best case that I can get for my devices, to protect them, to give them added functionality. And sometimes it takes just like buying a bunch of them and trying them, and then returning the ones that you don't like. And you could definitely do that because a lot of these with Amazon have free returns. So when you're clicking on those links and checking out the prices and stuff like that, note the ones that are Prime with free returns, because the ones with free returns, Amazon will take back with no questions asked. You could buy 10 of them. You don't like 10 of them, send all 10 of them back. As long as they are the free returns, they won't charge you for a restocking fee. So I definitely like that about it. So with that said, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, because I have that keyboard video coming out. I have a stylus video coming out for the iPad, and then I have my 2019, I guess fall of 2019 buyer's guide, I guess you can say, for iPads coming out as well. So make sure to click that subscribe button, and we'll see you back here in the next one on State of Tech. Take care.